Welcome to another episode of Home Sweet Home. My name is Rod McCall.
And I'm Scott Nichols.
I'm now fully licensed to practice professional counseling.
Awesome.
And I've been...
Congratulations.
Well, thanks. It's been a while coming. And the hardest thing is trying to figure out what to do. And, well, rephrase that. I know what to do. The difficult part is putting it all together and taking that next big step forward. Because I've been in the classroom for so darn long.
So basically you need to buy a couch.
I think it's beyond not just buy a couch, but figure out, okay, where to put the couch, who to invite to sit on the couch, all kinds of stuff.
Right. What your website name is going to be so you can get people to show up.
Yes, exactly. I mean, just so much going on, and I was exploring a bunch of different stuff, and I all as a result. And further evidence that Facebook is listening all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I've been seeing all kinds of stuff. And again, I watch. And so, of course, they feed me more stuff on how to get started, how to transition and become that professional counselor. And some of the stuff that I've been getting has been from the Gottman Institute.
Oh, cool.
And again, the Gottman Institute is started around John and Julie Gottman. And they work on couples relationships. Okay. And making couples relationships work better. And I've explored them before, and they've got training. And then that just kind of started a whole idea. And then suddenly, boom, up pops a topic on the idea of conflict resolution.
Okay.
Because this is one of their big things. And I thought, well, okay, that would be kind of cool. But my question to you is, do you ever have conflict with anybody?
Well, clearly I'm always right. So if there's a conflict, it's on their part, right?
Well, sure.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, that might be my problem. Okay, so yeah, I probably do have some conflict. Right?
Okay,
occasionally.
Well, because we got. I think that we always have conflict. No, maybe that's an overgeneralization. I think that the opportunity for conflict is always there. It might be conflict with our spouse. It might be conflict with coworkers. It might be conflict with neighbors, or in my case, the jackwagons that are driving and irritating the daylights out of me on a regular daily basis, because I swear I've got something over.
I get frustrated by the same people.
Oh, sure.
And I'm just going to say that I think that probably most of them are doing the right thing, and I'm doing the wrong thing.
Well,
I got to say, right?
Okay.
Like, as far as driving goes, I might be, pushing the envelope, and they're actually driving the speed limit. I mean, just coming to here to the studio today, that was my experience. Was like, why are you going so slow? Oh, wait a minute, that's the speed limit. That's probably why you're going that slow, and I just have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Let me say, I think that if you agree with everybody, then you probably don't agree with anybody.
Well, yeah.
Right? Like that you can't possibly agree with everybody about everything.
Well, if you are,
there's going to be some conflict there. Whether you display it or whether you keep it hidden is another question, right?
Okay.
But you can't possibly agree with everybody about everything. So you have to have some conflict.
Okay. I think there is a lot of truth, because you're right. If you are, yes, oh, you're right. No, oh, you're right too. Oh, hey, you're right as well.
Well, you just have no beliefs or
at
that point.
Maybe you've got other concerns, because not everybody likes to be a doormat, wants to be a doormat.
Sure.
And you're right. Maybe you have your opinions. You're just afraid to express them.
Yep.
And so this thing came across from the Gottman Institute, and it's titled The Four Horsemen. And it's the four horsemen of conflict. And they are identified as criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And I thought it was kind of cool. First of all, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Well, if you've got conflict, that could lead to, all kinds of chaos in your life.
Right.
And so the idea of an apocalyptic metaphor, I thought was kind of clever on their part, or on their part. And so I thought, well, maybe it might be fun to explore the 4 horsemen of conflict. And what I like about them is that not only do they provide, the 4 horsemen of conflict, but how to overcome these 4 horsemen.
Wow. Okay.
So I thought we could explore and dive into, some of the issues related to conflict and how to then address those conflicts and help us to agree to disagree better.
Wow. This sounds awesome. Let's see where we can fight about this.
Okay. All right. Well, if we do this right, you'll just say yes.
Do you think so?
No, not at all. Not at all. But, one can always wish.
I think that's probably one of the 4 horsemen somewhere in there.
All right. So to get us started on this path, we're going to start with the one they identified first, and that is criticism. And I will admit I'm sadly well acquainted with criticism.
Yeah.
And because, again, I think there's a difference between having a different opinion and a negative critique. And when you're constantly criticizing or providing a negative critique on those around you, well, then now you're headed into conflict.
Yeah. I think that, there's a big question of what's the difference between like criticism and complaint. Because I think complaints can be valid.
Okay.
But you have to approach it right. But criticism, right? I mean, and we like to think, well, there's constructive criticism, right?
Okay, yeah.
If anybody has ever loved constructive criticism, right? They maybe, I just don't know anybody like that, right?
Okay.
I don't know that there is constructive criticism. I think that's probably not criticism. That's probably more like coaching.
Okay.
But criticisms, tend to, I think, involve like absolutes. You never do this. You always do that.
Yes.
Right. You're always doing this thing. And it doesn't offer any kind of constructive anything towards it. Right.
Uh-huh.
And so it's just a fight of, I just don't like you. I don't like those things you do. I don't have any thought about, coming to any kind of agreement on anything. It's just you don't do this and you never do that. And you're always going out with your friends and you never you're never doing these things. And I mean that I don't think there's anything constructive about that, right? And I mean, if you've ever experienced somebody saying, now come on, Rod, calm down.
Yeah.
You're always getting all excited there. You just need to calm down.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sure that every time you hear somebody say calm down, you're just like, oh, you're right. I need to calm down.
Yeah.
Or
we're going to go back a ways, but when the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl,
yeah,
people there at the house, calm down. It's just a game. It's just a game. And I will say that just did not work. That irritated me even worse. So no, you're right.
When I noticed, I don't think you've worn any Chiefs stuff ever since that day. So I knew that was a sore spot with you, but I probably didn't. The day after, I probably didn't help out. But I mean, we don't think that. So when somebody's like, "You never do this and you never do that," you're not feeling like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. Can we come to an agreement about what I should do or what you would like me to do?" It's just no. You shut down.
Well, you're right.
Shut down, and you don't want to hear it.
Well,
and maybe you come back with, "Well, you always do this." And now we just have a shouting match.
Well, and I think that your comment about using absolutes is correct. One of the things that I remember crying out loud way back when I was in college, we took a marriage and family class. Or not we, I took a marriage and family class, and that's one of the things they discussed is to do your best to avoid using absolutes.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about, if you have a complaint, if you have something that's rising to the level of criticism, it's right to address it. To ignore it creates or allows that problem to manifest and become even worse. But if you were to use I statements, this is what I'm observing. This is what I'm seeing. And it feels like that this is happening a lot. Well, you're giving your thoughts, you're giving your opinions, but you're giving it in a less threatening way. And so therefore that you're reducing the criticism to more of a complaint where it doesn't automatically put that person on the defense.
Yeah. Well, and I think a complaint can leave an opening. Right. So like, it bothered me when you did this because we had talked about this other thing. And I really liked it when you did this other thing that made me feel good. And I thought we had good communication, and that leaves an opening to, oh, okay. So here's the good side. Here's what I should be doing that builds up our relationship instead of putting walls up.
Well, and yes, and one of the things that I have learned, and Sherry and I do this, is take a pause before you make that comment to help it be more of a complaint and less of a criticism. Give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Give it a few hours. Give it a day. Because if you go right away into your comment, well, there might be more emotion included than you want, and what you say isn't what is heard. And so now you have pushed beyond the complaint to criticism. The other person's put up their wall, and they're going, kiss my butt. I'm not listening to you.
Yeah. You're
just jumping on my case to jump on my case, so I'm going to return the favor.
Sure.
So, again, I have learned, and we did this a lot with our divorce group, sharing, is using I statements. This is what I experienced. This is how I feel. This is how I felt when you said that. This is what I heard. Mm-hmm. And therefore, you're not accusing.
Well, that gets back to the frequent thing that we mentioned from Stephen Covey about understanding, right? Seeking to understand before being understood. I mean, you have to approach it as a conversation, and this is the thing that was happening. I felt this way. I'm not sure what you meant by it, because maybe it's just innocent, like they just didn't think. Right. Well, it's not like they did something to piss you off. Mm-hmm. Right.
Not deliberately anyway.
Right. I mean, so, you don't want to attack it. You want to approach it from a positive perspective as much as possible to be able to drive it in that positive direction.
Well, and that's where that can accidentally lead us to the second horseman. Because when that complaint rises to the level of criticism, where that person now we're getting into that fight, it's gaining steam. And so the second one that they identify is contempt.
Yeah.
And here's where you get into the name calling. This is where sarcasm comes to play, and not the funny, haha, potential sarcasm, the mean, nasty sarcasm.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of disrespect that goes on. And I will say I have, especially in my first marriage, the escalation went here fast. And I would say things that I would go, why did I say that?
Yeah.
And it was because there was nothing positive that was coming out of my mouth. And so the fights would get pretty nasty.
And I got to say that, where the First Horseman was something where you could really just kind of like shift your thinking and do something positive. I think if you're stuck in this contempt loop, you probably need some professional help as a couple.
Yeah.
Because contempt is like, I'm going to lower my partner, right? I'm going to put them under me, and I'm more important, and I'm better. They're not. And, there's all that. And if they're both doing that, right, you're never going to come to an agreement. You're just going to be at each other until you file papers.
Yeah.
And so you probably need some help if you're at this location, right? I just feel like professional help is required. More than likely. Now, maybe you can take some simple advice and change that. That's great. You can change your speaking, how you communicate with each other. That's probably good. But you have to somehow come to an appreciation of each other rather than I'm better than you. I work harder than you. All those things.
Yes, this is hard because when you're that contempt, a lot of the stuff, and I can speak from, again, personal experience, when I would blow up at Eric's mom, a lot of times it was a lot of underlying stuff that had been going on. And we would have these blow up fights that in my marriage and family class, they called it an everything, including the kitchen sink fight. And it was a no hold barge. And I was feeling a lot of disrespect from her. And so I'm going, disrespect me? No, disrespect you. And so, but you're right. There was no appreciation.
Yeah.
And so I think if you were to start with, look, and show a little appreciation. Show something that you appreciate that they do. A little gratitude. Yeah. You start out with a positive, well, then that can make the less than positive statement that follows a little more acceptable. Because you're wanting to show that, hey, you're not a total jackwagon. And so you're wanting to do something. Here's what you said. Here's what you did. And normally, I like when you do these things.
Yeah.
Normally, this is how when you normally do these things, or show again a little, I don't know, again, that shows some respect to that person without going full blown negative. It might give you a little bit get more credibility into what you're trying to express.
Well, yeah, I think that appreciating the other person is really important. My wife she believes in really traditional roles, like right, for husband and wife, way more than I ever would.
Okay.
So she gets down on herself when she's tired and she hasn't, done some vacuuming or cleaned the kitchen. And I could care less. I love cleaning the kitchen.
Okay.
I like to vacuum. I don't mind, doing all the things. I see us as partners. Mm-hmm. If one person is down, the other person kind of picks up the slack, right? Like just like you would in any team. So I have no problem if there's times where I have to do everything and she just rests. Mm-hmm. And then there's times where, she picks up things and does it because I'm struggling, or busy with something. And so, and it's tough, right? Especially we don't have kids at home. So, we live in a small place now and it's pretty easy to take care of, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you have kids, that complicates it, right?
Oh, yeah.
No matter how good you feel or how bad you feel, you still have to take care of those kids. Uh-huh. And, one person, it's very difficult for one person to take care of one or several kids on their own. So, that's kind of the whole point of having two people
yes,
doing that. So it can be tough, right? But if you introduce contempt and you don't have appreciation, then that just makes it even harder.
Oh, absolutely. And, one of the things that the Gottman Institute suggested is this 5-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
In fact, they call it a magic ratio. And it goes back to what, I've shared before, that relationships are a bank account. And you got to make more deposits than withdrawals. And in fact, they even use the word emotional bank account in their explanation, that in this 5-to-1 magic ratio, give 5 positives for every negative.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I do exactly 5-to-1, but I think that you've got to, if you're constantly on the negative, then whatever you're trying to communicate, when you're trying to communicate something important to you, well, it's harder to be accepted that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, it's not, I remember being told as a little kid, even, it's not necessarily what you say, but how you say it.
Sure.
And so I think part of the contempt, the way to battle contempt is to rephrase what you want to say. Okay. And so by trying to avoid it as a negative, making it more of a positive or suggestion, instead of saying, oh, God, you're so lazy, you never do.
Right.
Say, hey, I know you've been a little preoccupied and busy lately. Would you mind help doing this?
Yeah.
And again, it's all about phrasing. I'm not always the best. Even now, I will forget. And I'll be a little frustrated, exasperated, and I'll go, ugh, gosh dang it. Why am I always the one that has to do this? Well, I'm not always the one that has to do this. And if I take a moment, breathe deep a couple of times, okay, you know what? I do this frequently, but maybe if I were to ask for a little help instead of just calling somebody flat out lazy, you're right. You're going to get more of a positive response to the things that are driving you nuts.
And so that criticism, right, that usually leads to the third horseman of defensive. And so when you're saying something, did you do this thing today that you were going to do? Because, we have to go here or do that. Mm-hmm. And, the person is just like, no, I was too busy. Why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know to do it.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know you weren't going to do it because you usually do it. So,
yeah.
And you didn't tell me that you were going to be busy, but we don't want to get defensive about all these things, so, but that person saying, well, I was just too busy. Like, why didn't you do it? How come you didn't do it? That's tough. So you don't want to really be defensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, and kind of reverse, you don't want to reverse blame, that kind of thing.
Well, and sometimes too, my defensiveness comes up because I'm feeling guilty.
Right.
And so, but it goes back to what you were saying before about absolutes. Yep. Don't use absolutes. When you use an absolute, well, you always, no, I don't. Well, you never.
Right.
Baloney. You're to help keep that defensive wall down. A lot of times it comes in kind of how you approach. And because you're right, my defensive wall is a knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
And that doesn't solve the problem. And when I go this route, it sometimes makes things even worse.
Now, I think there's some caution here, right?
Okay.
I feel like there's caution in that, so the solution to defensiveness is to kind of take responsibility, right?
Okay.
For whatever, you can apologize rather than saying, why didn't you do it? You could say, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't get that done. We can maybe make a phone call now or do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that there's the side of, your partner is victimizing you in some way, and you it's really not your fault, and then this is actually an abusive situation.
Okay,
and
yes.
So then you need counseling, you need help,
mm-hmm.
you need maybe even law enforcement, right? I mean,
yes.
There's some things there that I just feel like as a caution. There's simple things like,
mm-hmm.
how come you didn't call John today?
Yes,
right.
You've been playing your video game all freaking day.
And then there's there's abusive situations where they're just constantly on you.
Yes. No. I hear exactly what you're saying. I mean, if you're sitting at home all day, you had the day off, and instead of, emptying the dishwasher, loading the dishwasher, running the vacuum sweeper. You haven't done jack bumpkus all day. And your spouse comes home because they had to work all day. They're tired. You don't have dinner. The place looks like a mess. You haven't taken out the trash. And they go, hey, how are you? What you been doing today? Oh, I just been sitting here binge watching. Really?
Yeah.
I had asked, can you, change out the trash, take out the trash. Can you, empty out the dishwasher? Can you load the dishwasher? You haven't done a darn thing. Well, maybe you're asking it the wrong way, but maybe that defensiveness is because you really were lazy.
Right.
On this particular occasion. And so, you're right. Taking a little responsibility in that case, you know what? You're right. Absolutely. Please forgive me. You know what? I'm going to do it right now. And you go about doing that and you take a little ownership, but you're right. You got to be careful because if you're in an abusive relationship, well, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
So
seeking help is good.
Yes. Yeah. Cause that is kind of tough. It is kind of hard, playing this. Cause I don't know. Like I said, my defenses go up automatically, especially now. And I have to remind myself that Sherry is not the ex-wife because the ex-wife, Eric's mother, she really was lazy and she wanted me to do more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. Yeah. And she didn't like the way I would do it. Well, if you don't like the way I do it, then why the heck don't you do it? So step up, get out of bed, and actually do something for a change instead of just complaining about the way I do it.
Right.
So today I have to be more mindful that, okay, what are you being asked to do? Well, okay, can you do it right now?
Yeah.
And Sherry's a lot more patient, and so that helps. And so I have to, again, remind myself, don't go defensive. She's asked you to do something. Why? Let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know that, but I agree with you that Mr. Defense is very, how shall we say, at least in my experience, is truly one of the four horsemen of the relationship apocalypse. So,
and then I love the last one, right? Because it involves history, right? Because stonewalling.
Oh, Stonewall Jackson.
Stonewall Jackson, right? So, I mean, what is this stonewalling? What are we talking about?
Well, a lot of times, especially, and I like the way they describe it, it can occur when the listener withdraws from the conversation, from the interaction. They shut down and simply stops responding.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Exactly. Thank you. You're stonewalling me, jackwagon. But, a lot of times, again, a total withdrawal.
Right.
Rather than discussing this issue, confronting the issue with the partner, they stonewall. They make evasive maneuvers. They'll tune you out. They'll turn away. They'll pretend they're busy, engage in some other distractive behavior, and they just boom. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, I kind of like to address this. I ran into a lot of this with Eric's mom.
So is this generally more about timing? Do you think, or I mean, like, is this more of a let me give you a few minutes and then can we talk about this in 20 or 30 minutes? I think, or is it just like even in 20 or 30 minutes you're not going to talk to me?
I think it could be all of that.
Okay.
I think, yes, I will say that if you're going to talk to somebody and you're going to go, hey, look, can we schedule this in a couple of minutes? I don't want to interrupt you right now, but at the commercial break, at the end of the show, sure. I would like to visit with you about a couple of things. And so are we okay with that?
Yeah.
I think you can absolutely do that. I think that, with stonewalling, they're kind of like a talk to the hand because the ears ain't listening kind of response where they don't want to engage with you because they know they might be the problem.
Right.
And so if we don't talk about the problem, then I don't have to address the problem.
Sure.
And so again, ran into a lot of this with Eric's mom.
Because problems always go away on their own.
Oh, absolutely. Right. If you ignore it, it'll disappear.
We've talked about that before, I think.
I think we have. And so
I do think that giving time to have a break, right? And we've talked about this before too, where it's like, okay, so just let's take a pause, right? And you go do something that's for you. I'll do something that's for me, right? And then we can come back and maybe we can talk about this. Well, rationally.
When you're feeling angry and you come home, you've been at work all day, and your spouse has had the day off.
Sure.
And they're lounging on the couch, and there's dirty dishes and an overflowing trash can and laundry piled, beyond belief. And you're going, what have you done all day?
See, and this would happen to me, and my wife would say, I'm really sorry. I've been sitting here watching the TV all day. And I'm like, I'm sorry I haven't been productive. And I said, well, I mean, I think you probably were. Probably what you needed was to chill out and just, relax all day. And that's fine.
Sure.
Right? That's fine. That's fine with me.
But if this is the 20th time in a row that this has happened, would your response be exactly that?
I mean, I don't know, but I've never had it 20 times in a row.
Okay.
Right, but I mean, I know that when she does that, she really needs that.
Okay.
I mean, she's not that kind of person. So when it happens, it's like you really needed that. You just needed to sit and enjoy your day the way you wanted to enjoy it. Great. That's awesome.
And that is the perfect response. But can every person do that every single time?
No.
And that's where this comes into play. Sherry and I have really worked hard on this. And we do it to each other where something will happen. And to avoid the stonewalling, we'll talk to each other. And it might be an hour later. It might be half a day later. It might be 2 or 3 days later. And you have allowed your emotions to calm down. You've thought about, okay, this is what I would like to say. Why am I angry? Why am I mad? Why am I ready to blow a gasket?
Sure.
And so to avoid the stonewalling, what she and I do is address it later. And it's a later when we are able to talk about the issue easier. So that the anger, the hostility, those very powerful negative emotions are gone. So that way the criticism isn't there. It's more of a complaint.
And you know that you're going to have to deal with it in the near future. And so you're relaxing yourself so that you can, because I mean, maybe there's a point where it's like, you know what, I was being kind of ridiculous. And so, like, this isn't as big of a deal as I thought it was. I was just hyped up on, my day and having a difficult time, and I was about to take it out on you.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, having that pause, I think, is important because it might reduce the conflict.
And that, I think, is exactly what they're talking about here. And I will say that this has been fantastic for me in addressing issues. And Sherry does the same thing where instead of blowing up on each other when you're angry, you take the pause. And so so you're not avoiding talking about an issue. You're taking the time to allow the emotions to kind of flow out of you, calm down, and rationally and reasonably say, hey, this is what I'd like to talk about this. And then you can do all the other things and use your I statements. This is kind of how I felt. This is what I was thinking. This is, and you can use the other antidotes that we talked about to avoid the criticism, to avoid the defensiveness. And you can have a conversation to address the issue, and you can resolve it more effectively without everybody being pissed at each other.
So I haven't taken it myself, but I did notice on the website for the Gottman Institute that they have a free relationship quiz. So I'll probably see if I can attach that to the podcast. And so people can reference it and see, take the free relationship quiz and see what that tells you about your partner.
Okay.
How well do you know them?
Well, because when you can get along better, life is so much happier everywhere you go.
And now to make life happy, I'm going to, pick up lunch and bring it home to my wife. So, So
what are you getting me?
nothing.
Oh,
You weren't invited. This is my time with my wife.
Well,
Nope.
God, man,
Nope.
I'm feeling it, man.
We just had our time. We just had our time, and now it's over.
But
right.
no lunch included. Well, that sucks. All right. Well, I guess I'm on my own. So until next time, I'm Rod.
I'm Scott.
See ya.
Bye.